start the share. So, hey, good evening, everybody. I'm going to make this, to the point as much as I can, but I don't want to short it from anyone's input. We are going to record today, and we'll put it on both the Facebook site, on the website, and we'll send it out via link so that if somebody wasn't able to make it on this beautiful day, because I know it's a great day to be out there and putting in some crops and doing some great things, that that they don't feel slighted and we can still get their input. Because I think the important thing for us is going to be getting everybody's input as much as we can and not missing any of that key stuff. So can everybody see the slide that says Veterans in Farming, April 19th on it? Okay.
Yes.
Super. Thank you. Okay. So I turned on the record. We'll, like I said, record it and stuff. I don't know if we need to do introductions as much as maybe just go around the room. So right now, I'm Joe Ricker. I was voted last month to be the chairman for this organization as we move forward with the commitment that after the January event, we probably look at revoting to make sure that there was bylaws and everything that supported it. I also consult with Purdue under the Agribility program, which assists people with disabilities to continue on in farming. I have a 250 apple tree orchard that I sprayed with neem oil just about an hour ago here in Wilkinson, Indiana, just south of Anderson. I have some beehives, and I also have a nonprofit that I help with beekeeping that I know a lot of you participate in, and I'm super excited about that. We had our first real event last week at King Bee. It was awesome. I got some great Amish food and some great beekeeping knowledge, and we have another one from Addie's Orchard in June, and we partner with Agribility and Ag Vets for that as well. So I'll go next to John. John, did you want to say a little bit about yourself at Little Critters?
So I'm John Antill. I was voted in as the treasurer last meeting. Same thing as understanding in January. So what Little Critters Nursery does is that we raise rabbits for 4-H people first. I said people because they're more than just kids in 4-H now. So we actually go out and find the rabbits that they're looking for, and we bring them back to the state. We currently have approximately 198 rabbits on site, and I am currently working with other organizations to bring finances into the new group. Over.
That's super, John. Thank you. Tammy, do you want to give a few comments about yourself?
Sure. I'm the new secretary on the board. I live in Terre Haute and have a hobby farm. And I'm hoping to, we lost our one beehive this winter, so I'm hoping we're gonna have a number of them this year again and try it again. Maybe we'll survive, get them through the winter this time. That's a big thing, that and goats we have, but we're pretty much just a hobby farm right now.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Tammy. And so one of the things that we've added to the veteran farming mission statement is, being a homesteader or hobby farmer. And that way we can expand and kind of touch those people that get a therapeutic aspect versus a financial aspect from agriculture as well. And so I'll go down the line real quick. Also, Dawn Marie, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
I was Air Force. I live on a city lot in a rental house, but I have, I don't know, a couple 100 feet of berry plants, 13 fruit trees, meat chickens, layer chickens, and beehives. And I'm thinking about starting white doves as another profit potential, renting for weddings and funerals. I'm just looking for lots of little angles for how to figure out how to make money at this. I would like to buy land. It's just absolutely prohibitive. So I'm just gonna play at farming, and try to sell stuff actually. And I'm even looking at a $7,500 single axle dump truck as another little stream of revenue. So I'm going at this, but I am really small potatoes.
I don't know, that dump truck sounds pretty big. Meryl, did you have any, give yourself a little bit of information?
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Okay. I'm Meryl. I am a veteran spouse. So, we are actually working on, going through the process of getting a farm and homestead started, but we do have a beehive, which we are about to split. And we caught a wild swarm last year and they overwintered great and they're doing really good. So that's pretty much all it is about me.
Meryl, I'm jealous of you and your bees, but I'm sure you'll do great. You'll have to invite me by sometime.
Oh,
Nolan?
you can come over anytime.
Nolan?
Good evening, everyone. Nolan Taylor, Air Force. I'm actually at IUPUI now. Really just a backyard gardener. I also had a bed at our community center, trying to grow some things there, and a long time beginner beekeeper.
That's super. I think we're always a beginner beekeeper and just learning things and taking things in. It's crazy at times. Patrick,
Yeah, can you hear me?
can hear you just fine. Thank
All
you.
right, great. My name is Patrick Moore. I live down in New Harmony, Indiana, and I have a homestead. Kind of got a lot of things going on. I've got some Black Angus cattle. I've got some pigs, raised meat birds in the summer, and I've got about 35 laying hens right now. I have a beehive as well. Looking at expanding into some sheep. I've kind of tried to do the agribusiness sort of thing, but it's really tough on a small scale. So I think what I'm doing right now is just raising what my family needs and trying to, just provide, food for us. I put a high tunnel up this year, just trying to do everything I can basically for, provide food. So if that can turn into something down the road for revenue, that would be great.
Hopefully we can help do that a little bit for you, or at least give you some guidance information on that. Michelle, anything out there at Porter Farm? I think you're on mute, Michelle.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm Michelle Broyhill, Army National Guard. Right now, we've got the container gardens up front are planted, and we have seed trays that are already planted. We've done some cleaning up around here. Last, we went to the beekeeping event with Joe last Saturday, and it was great. We got a couple of hives, some protective gear. We got a couple of sheep, and we're going to be having some chickens soon. So far, so good.
That's awesome. Does Sarah know that? Hey, Sarah, you online? Do you know you're getting chickens?
Yep.
Sarah's there, but she might be double tapping it with her other job that happens at night as well. So Sarah, if you want to come on with your 2 cents. If anybody doesn't know, Sarah's got Blue Yonder Farm out there in North Salem, and she's a Air Force person as well. And then she does some work at Porter Farm, which is our incubator farm that Michelle and Miranda work for us out there, work for them out there, to learn about farming. And we hope to start more of those as well. So Sarah, when you get a chance, if you want to jump in, let me know. And then next I'll jump on and ask Timothy. Timothy, you want to introduce yourself, Tim?
Yeah, hi. Tim Four. I'm a former Marine and 6 years in the Marines, 6 years in the Army. Been farming ever since I was a teenager. I was a generation that went back to the farm, made a profit of it. So if you wanted to know about homesteading and trying to supplement, I could probably consult with you. Got about 7 acres on north of Marion on the Grant County, Wabash County line. And at the present, I'm a senior student, full-time student here at Purdue Fort Wayne in industrial engineering. If I can help you out in any way, give me an email.
Hey, no, that's super, Tim. I appreciate your knowledge last week was greatly appreciated. I see somebody come up as a phone called like Sarah or something like that. Are they on and want to introduce themselves? Kaio, Sarah,
I'm trying, Joe. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, sir. Go ahead.
This is Scott Hunter. How are you, sir?
Good, great. How you doing, Scott?
Not too bad. Sorry, I've been kind of out of the loop here for a while. We had some drastic changes at the beginning of the year. Wife lost a job, 23 years, and so I had to go full time at another job to get the insurance. So things have changed drastically for me, but we're still doing our thing. I did end up selling off most of my cattle for right now, just to lighten our workload a little bit, stuff like that. So hopefully things will come back in play maybe later this fall, or we'll see how it goes.
All right. I hear you, and I'll pray for you, Scott. I hope everything turns out better for you.
Yeah, we're making it. Everything's fine. I got a good job. I mean, I'm doing good, and everybody's, actually well, no sickness, nothing like that going on. So that's a blessing. But everything else has been a little bit of a struggle, but we'll make it through it. That's what we do. So I just wanted to definitely be part of the meeting, and my wife and I definitely stand behind this, 110%. It's really helped us a lot through our journey. So anybody has any questions, they can always reach out to me as well. So
I super appreciate that. I always remember the old Army training of hunt the good stuff, right? You just got to look at the positives sometimes.
Right.
To move forward, right?
Yes, sir. So,
Hey.
yeah.
Super. Hey, and I see somebody's on the line with a phone number ending in 1229. They want to introduce themselves.
That's John. I've already done it.
Okay, super. Hey, so great. We'll get started then. Really these meetings are going to happen rapidly. We're going to do them every other week. And really the intent is to knock out. So since we are a fledgling organization as veterans in farming, I'm going to record this, put my email on it, or the email for the board on it, and then people can send us input. We're going to do as much social media as we can between Facebook and the web and YouTube and whatever our young 20-year-old Katie can develop for us on social media to get it out there, and then allow people to provide input that way as well. But we're doing this really to get your input. So if I talk too much, or you have a question, please ask. So I think you see the slides in front of you. Some of the old business I wanted to bring you up on is that the Veterans in Farming, the website is up. If you haven't seen it, we've transitioned. And then what we've done is we've linked all the previous websites to it. So if you go to the old websites, you should go to Veterans in Farming. You may see a wildapricot.org after it. That is kind of the hosting agency for it, but it gives us some capabilities on the back end when it comes out to sending out emails and membership lists and the like. And we're going to try to utilize those better as we move forward. The Veterans in Farming 501c3 has been submitted for approval to the IRS. I've seen those come back in as many as 2 weeks to 2 months. So as soon as that comes back, we'll send out a happy, lucky email. And so that 501c3, if you're not familiar with the nonprofit IRS status of 501c3, that makes us tax deferred, allows us to take tax-free donations. We can then set up tax-free accounts. John can go wild on getting donations and stuff that are tax-free from businesses. And we can do a lot more with that 501c3. We have changed the Facebook site. If you haven't seen that, we're gonna still try to message as much as we can. And Katie is working with the Chastains on a logo and some graphics. I really personally like that green color. I don't know if it's gonna stay, but you'll see kind of a green color in Indiana on some of the logos and graphics. So that's kind of just an update where we stand on becoming a business. And then if you have any questions, just raise your hand or
Moat, Daddy turned something on for you.
go ahead, sir. Okay. And then the conference. So the Agribility Regional Workshop, which we are partnering with them, June 6th through 8th at the Hilton Garden Inn at Indianapolis Airport has been published. I think you'll see that on the Facebook site. I'm not sure we sent it out to the internet, to the email list just yet, but I will send it out to the email list in the next day or so. And so just so you know, on the Agribility Regional Workshop, again in Indianapolis, I'll show the agenda in a little bit. And Indiana Ag Vets is going to fund both lodging and any fees to get in with their funding. Now, just keep in mind the only fees really in there are going to be based upon the cost of food. Just so you know, that's really, when you see the cost of it is really food. There's nothing else embedded in there. The rooms come free with food, but hotel food and conference room fees are not super cheap. And then we're going to go out to Celtic Glen Farm on the 8th and American Mushrooms on the 8th too for farm visits. So if you're into mushrooms or any of those items like Celtic Glen does, heritage cows and Angus. And John, you might be a little bit familiar with what Leslie does out there too. Or do you know what else she does? I think she does rabbits too, right?
Yeah, heritage rabbits. She's got heritage cattle. She's got some lambs. She's got some chickens. She's into a little bit of everything. She teaches courses on how to slaughter rabbits and chickens and all that other good fun stuff.
Yeah, so she started, I think, a lot of people on their paths to getting into those areas. And then I think the mushroom place will be interesting as well. So that'll be on June 8th. And again, Ag Vets, under Hoosier Uplands. If you're a member of that and it's free to be enrolled in that, we'll pay for lodging and we'll stipend admission fees, I guess is to say. So we've also, as the Veterans in Farming, have confirmed a conference out in January 19 through 21. And what we did is we confirmed that based upon the worst case. Again, it's really just food cost. And so when we looked at food cost and what they call adventure fee cost for them, which is to go on the go into their area. So if you don't know, I probably didn't say it, is the conference will be at Fair Oaks Farm. And so there is an opportunity both for families to enjoy the pool and the adventure atmosphere of kind of the agritourism area at Fair Oaks Farm. And then the Sunday we had planned on reaching out to do tours of the farm. And really, it's really not only a great time for families, like I think some people have done in the military, take your family someplace, kids get to use the water park, some great things. We still have to completely balance the agenda, get the food confirmed and all that other stuff. But we needed to put the deposit on now, mainly because they are booked up after January 1st. And if you start to get into the March, April timeframe, you're really starting to butt up against some of the Agribility conferences. And then like now, we're starting to butt into, good growing season and the like. So we wanted to get something in January and hopefully that works out. So we're doing worst case payment on that is $150 ticket for the weekend. We think we're going to defray that cost. quite a bit to maybe even free with fundraising, donations, rental tables, and a couple other great ideas we have. So we want to go just a worst case perspective and then pull that in. So we'll lower that before it goes out to the masses, which can be listening to this video right now, and kind of narrow that cost down. There is a hotel about $100, $120, I'm sorry, per night that's available, and it'll be a block rate. And I think that stays open until December 20th. And then we don't hit another cost point until September 24th. So we have some time to really work through that. Me, myself, and a couple other members of Veterans in Farming participate in the Agribility conference discussion in June. Myself, Dawn Marie, Darren Chapman, Krista Hoppel, and Katie Yeend. Katie's also our communications social media person. So all of us participate with Agribility, and we're learning a lot. So I think by September, we'll be able to get to a much better place on a dollar sign for January. Again, I think we'll get the numbers. Even if we get half those numbers, we're doing wonderful in January. And we'll just see where we're going. That's not just for Indiana. We're going to open that up to the region as well. So last thing I want to do is today's really what I want to talk through is a lot of bylaw discussions. I might pull you into the discussion if you don't volunteer. And so what we want to do is really start to lay out the bylaws. When the 501c3 comes through, if we need any assistance such as a loan or any business end, do a grant, anything like that, we open ourselves up to having to present our bylaws to any organization. So we want to make sure that the bylaws are not only solid in being able to be presented, but we also want to make sure that we're covering it where everybody gets input on it. Joe Ricker doesn't want to write a bylaw and say, we're going to do this, and then it becomes Joe Ricker's show. We want the bylaws to be representative of the group. So as we go through kind of a few of the discussion points, please chime in. Any questions on the updates of old business or the conference in January? Okay, I'll go into the bylaw discussion, and then I'm going to ask for input, so be prepared. So a lot of the organizations that are nonprofits have committees, they have a senior committee, a board, and then they have what's called an advisory board. So I've reached out to a few of the contacts I've made through Agribility to see if they were willing and able to participate in an advisory board. So kind of the lanes I looked at was outside the veteran farming community. I think we're an awesome community. I think we got a lot of things to offer. But I also think that if we're not joined with the whole, universities and other things, that we lose opportunities and knowledge to grab onto things. So I reached out to NRCS and Will Fett at NRCS to see if he would be available, and he's pending a decision. I reached out to Indiana Grown, who's willing to be on the board as well. I have a marketing firm that helps me with a nonprofit called Collective Alternatives, which I think would help with marketing, and I reached out to them. I have not reached out to a general officer, although I think a general officer, whether Indiana National Guard, reserves, active duty, retired, someplace in that arena kind of has value. I also think the Indiana Department of Veteran Affairs has a lot of value in there because we are veterans and able to grab onto that area. And then I think also we probably need to talk with Agribility. Agribility has a lot of funding and opportunities, and I think we'll see that as we join with them for the regional workshop in June. And then lastly, there are a couple area leaders, particularly people that are on major businesses or that are a part of higher level staffs for senators or congressmen that I think would have value. So I'm going to just go around the room and leave it there for the advisory board and see what everybody thinks. Nolan, I'm gonna tag you first and say, hey, Nolan, what do you think about that list?
I like that list. And you can take it or leave it, but I was thinking maybe the Purdue Extension. And I don't know whether maybe the Legion might be a good partner as well.
I like that idea. I'm gonna write that down as soon as I can get to that slide. I like the Legion and Purdue Extension. What do you think, Patrick?
That all sounded pretty good to me. I don't know what the standard would be, for this type of organization, but it looks pretty comprehensive.
Okay. Anybody else with thoughts out there? Scott Hunter, any thoughts?
Hi, Joe, this is Sarah. I'm just wondering, are there any farm vets in here, or is it just industry leaders?
What was that farm vets you said?
Yeah, like veterans who are farming or in agriculture, like people who are actually doing the hands-on. I think would be important, at least one or two, to have that perspective be represented. Because a lot of the organizations, yes, they're very important, but they may not have the hands-on experience, which I think is important too. Sorry, I got another call. I gotta go.
Okay.
Joe, I'm on
ahead,
here,
Scott.
Joe. Sorry, I had a heck of a time with this Zoom. I'm not real up to speed on this system, but anyway, I was going to mention, you said something about the Legion that I'm a member of down in southeastern Indiana. The Milan Legion has a pretty active post, and they actually do a lot of sponsorships and different things like that. They have they raised like $1 million. It was like $1 million, like a drawing that they had. Somebody won it, and they're doing it again. They do it frequently, so it draws in a lot. That Legion down there, I could probably get a hold of the commander of the post and mention to him if we had some kind of letterhead or something. Maybe you could email me, maybe just see whether they would take time to look at it and see if there was a option, for some funding or something, to help veterans, wanting to seek this journey and do things.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. I do think we want to, when it comes to the advisory board, we'll put them in front of things to see the ideas and stuff. And then I think maybe John can be the man on the back end to ask for money and donations, but we certainly will do that. And look at opportunities with them. And I wrote down what Sarah mentioned about vet farmers. I do think having a couple successful farmers on there would be great. I would imagine that like Sarah, who's a veteran farmer and successful, would also be a member. And I'm not sure we'll ever have a separate meeting that doesn't have members and advisory board on it, or separate emails or anything like that. But I do like having the idea of successful people in agriculture. I'm just not, in my mind, able to shape that yet, but I do like that idea. And John, if you could take a note on the Legion, I appreciate that.
Joe,
I'm actually
is
going
there-
to look at the Legion and the VFW at the state level so that they can pull in the resources from a lot larger of an area.
Yeah, no, I agree. In fact, yeah, no, I agree completely. Michelle, what's your thought, Michelle?
What about a Rotary Club? Rotary clubs, and somebody like from some banking unions, they have like the teachers banking union, police banking union, somebody in the financial market.
Okay, no, I got that financial market. I think we'll have to tread closely if it came to like Farm Credit, because Farm Credit currently supports other organizations with veterans in farming. But we can
Mhm.
definitely look at opportunities with the financial market. I agree. I completely agree with that. I think this,
Um,
I think this list will grow and shrink a little bit. You know, we'll find people or we won't find people, but it certainly exposes us, I think, as an organization, um, and to other avenues and other ideas. Tammy, did you have a thought?
Yes, Nolan mentioned Purdue Extension, so I was thinking about the universities, major universities like IUPUI and Bloomington IU and whatever Notre Dame, yeah. And even some in my area, so
I love that idea. In fact, John Schausberger sent me a note after the last meeting on Ivy Tech as well, which has a
oh yeah.
large agriculture. So, you know, we're not tied to Purdue, although some of us may work or be closely associated with Purdue. I do like the outreach to many universities. Anything else from anybody? Okay.
Yeah, I got something to say there about the the extensions. You may not want to just limit that to Indiana because Ohio State University's extension is very advantageous. The West Virginia Mountaineers University is very good as far as timberland improvement, timber sales. And the University of Maryland is very good when it comes to wild ginseng and mushrooms, so forth. I've taken that stuff in the past.
Okay. No, I got down Purdue and other extensions, and we'll see what we can do to get some educators from those extensions on it. I certainly appreciate that. Okay, so real quick, the last one we had on was members, and we kind of got to the point at the last meeting of discussing who's going to be a member. And I think we decided, you know, straight up that if you're a veteran, you're going to be a member and you're going to have a vote, which was simple. And then it became, you know, are dependents members or are they auxiliary? And then we talked about, you know, does auxiliary get to vote or not vote? And then we talked of, you know, does advisory members vote or not vote? I can tell you some of the advisory members, if they're in federal positions, like NRCS, can advise but not vote. So I kind of, this might be a little bit messier, but I wanted to drill into, should dependents, and I would start by defining a dependent arguably, so anybody's open to argue with it, whether that is somebody who's 21 and above, under 18 by you know, regulation, has had or could have a dependent ID card. To me, once you're a dependent of a veteran, you're always a dependent of a veteran, whether you're 21 or 22. And to me, I'd like to, I don't know if we should encompass them as voting members or encompass them as auxiliary members. So any thoughts on two things, age of dependent and whether they are a voting member or an auxiliary member?
I think I like the idea of one vote per household. So no matter how many dependents they have, it's all included under the veteran. And as far as the age, I would think that if we just go by the current dependent age rules, whatever they are, like 21, that probably the dependents are not going to be interested in this organization, would be my guess. It really is only small kids and spouses, yeah, of veterans. So I think, is it 21 or is it 24, 25?
It's like, I'd have to look it up, but I think it's 21, unless you're in college, it's up to 24 to get medical. So we can define dependent as being able to get TRICARE medical benefits by DOD policy.
I feel that we should just leave it the same that it is already described for us or defined for us, instead of changing it up too much.
Okay, dependent, so by what the services define a dependent. And then 1 vote per household. Any other discussions on that or thoughts?
I have a question.
Go
I
ahead,
was,
Patrick.
yeah, just, I'm kind of playing catch up. What would be the benefit of bringing on dependents? Is it just to get the numbers up, just to try to build the organization? Or is it just trying to make our circle bigger?
So it's,
You can see where that could escalate into, you can see where that could escalate to a whole lot of people if that's the main purpose is to build numbers, but just a question.
yeah, no, so, my thought on any dependent that would be outside of a child, with an adult would be, somebody who's had who wants to get into farming because, their family member was a veteran and had died, like a Gold Star mother. The other thing is, I don't know, maybe it's because I have younger kids. I have a 24-year-old and a 14-year-old. I think they've been through a lot as military kids, and I don't know if I ever will not, in my mind, consider them a dependent. Because they do have a separate language and they have been in it. I think the important thing was just to really define it. I'm really open to anything. So that was really, I threw it out there as kind of just the big snot on the wall to see if it stuck, and then see where everybody wanted to take it, because it doesn't have to be everybody. I'm good if we keep it a tight knit group and consider redefining dependent later on.
Joe, when we talked about this, we were thinking that we wanted to include families who are part of the farm enterprise. But really, our focus, I like the 1 vote per household, because our focus is still on training grants, programs focused on veterans. We need to keep that veteran informed about opportunities and support them with mentoring relationships from other veterans and get them to training. So if somebody's ag vet eligible, that really helps us serve them. So can we kind of look at it as a benefit and grant and training focus on veterans? And then bringing the families along because they're part of the farm system and the social support for that veteran?
Oh, I think that's a great way of looking at it, is because USDA defines benefits by veteran. And then they define veteran a little differently than we probably do. To me, a veteran is anybody who has ever served honorably, or anybody who has served and not gotten a dishonorable discharge. That's kind of the broad swath of veteran. You'll find some of the USDA rules are you have to have served within the last 10 years. But I do think if we were to send an email and it said, hey, members, you can do this or you get this benefit, it would very much confuse things if we included dependent family members. So I kind of like what you're going, I think, Dawn Marie, and that, considering them under auxiliary, is maybe like the VFW does, a better definition of dependent family members that are adults.
So let me ask you this. If somebody, husband, wife, 2 kids, want to join us at Fair Oaks Farms, is Linda Tarr and Ag Vets paying for the family or the vet only?
So she's gonna pay for the vet only. sometimes they're eligible to include a caretaker. And it really just depends on her flexibility of the grant versus the event. And then obviously the hotel room would be for, like one hotel room, which would make sense. But sometimes you get a little bit of flexibility on there. Like for Addie's Orchard, I can do dependents and family members because my intent for Addie's Orchard is to get more people into beekeeping. And I just use the USDA definition for socially disadvantaged of veteran. But then I can crawl it back a little bit more from there. So I would say, but most grants are going to be focused on paying the veteran, if that makes sense.
So
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, so if you're doing a one vote per household and you have a 2 veteran household and we're not a couple, I care for my friend who's also a veteran, then we'd only get 1 vote. Well, what if we have opposing views and we're still, that would exclude one of us, which really isn't fair.
No, I understand your situation. I think the key term there is we probably have to define a household as a couple, and then you would get 2 votes.
Okay.
Not a physical structure, but more as a couple.
Okay. I have to ask because it is a different type of situation.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Joe, I'm still unclear on this. We're inviting families to come to Fair Oaks Farms, but we're telling them we're only gonna pay for the farmer and not the spouse and the kids? Because I thought we were including the family and designing it for families, but now we're telling people they gotta pay for their families?
Yeah, so
Oh.
that all depends on how we fund it, Don Marie. That all
Okay, well,
depends on how AgVet and the flexibility that AgVets has if they get the grant next year. And I can't speak to that.
Well, then that would be a really important place to develop some donations.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think it's really
Absolutely.
important for us to involve families and make this, about the farm, not just the veteran on the farm. But
I
anyway,
know in my case, Agribility paid for my spouse to come, and I'm the veteran, he's not. So I think it depended on how much money she could put on the trip or whatever. I'm not sure how that worked.
In some cases, I think, Linda, and don't quote me on this because we're on record, is that Hoosier Uplands can define a caretaker as well in their grant. And so that's usually where they encompass the spouse. We haven't really paid, I don't know if Linda, and she might have paid for like kids to go that are under the age of 13, but definitely I think, Don Marie, you bring up a great point for Fair Oaks as a funding point. But if everybody agrees, I really think that a voting member has to be a veteran, and I'm even almost okay to say a veteran, and then let a household where both spouses are veterans have 2 votes. Is anybody against defining a member as strictly a veteran, and a veteran is anybody who has served, who has not been discharged dishonorably?
I will just say, I know FPC, I know it's a little controversial, but they will take on a case-by-case basis the dishonorably discharged, because some people, it may be something like drugs or alcohol, like something that, things happen. I don't know that we want to completely dismiss that, in my personal opinion, but I think it's case-by-case.
That's a great point, Sarah. I'd rather not drill into that and just say then a veteran is anybody who has served. Does anybody have an issue with anybody who has served?
I do. I think it needs to be honorable. And if you broke the rules, you broke the rules. You know, we're talking about a lot of work here to give people support, to steer them toward training and grants, and I think it needs to be worthy candidates. Now, if you want to do an appeal and have some kind of appeal process, that's fine with me, because there are circumstances where people got run out. You know, that probably the Board of Military Review would reverse at this point, but I don't think we should say you served and you got kicked out and now we're gonna, you know, bust our butts helping you. It needs to be
Yeah.
worthy individuals.
I'll just tell you from my personal opinion, I think there are circumstances and there are reasons. I mean, service is service. I think that's why I'm saying it can be reviewed. So maybe the board can make a decision where there's like a majority that allows someone with a dishonorable discharge. But when you're looking at doing a nonprofit and you're doing outreach to people who need help, a lot of times the people that need help have had run-ins with the law or the military. Doesn't mean they're not worthy or not eligible. I don't think. You know, mistakes may have been made, but doesn't mean that their service is any less, or them as a person is any less deserving of a chance.
I agree. I think that's what Dawn Marie's saying too, is that it's, you know, so what I'm hearing is a veteran not dishonorable discharge is an automatic member. But if you have a dishonorable discharge, you can petition the board for membership. Okay, so nothing further heard. I think I think if everybody agrees under auxiliary with one of the discussion points last week was first responder, I say throw, it's a bad word. We'll put dependents under auxiliary as well. And that way they are defined a part of the group, but understand that veteran benefits from USDA or other definitions may not apply. So it's just like the VFW that advocates for its members. They have the auxiliary, which are not veterans of foreign wars, that can receive opportunities as well. So if anybody's against putting dependents under auxiliary, let me know.
The auxiliary is spouses, right?
No, I think we do. I think one of the things we talked about was first responders as well at the last meeting, and dependents as well, which does not necessarily need to be a spouse. It could be somebody that does not meet the definition of a voting veteran.
Well, I thought we were gonna focus on veterans only for a couple of years and then talk about expanding once we kind of got our act together.
I don't know if we were going to exclude them or not. I thought the discussion was a little different than that, but I'll throw that out there. Does anybody have contention with first responders being in auxiliary?
No, I kind of agree with that, Joe. From what I sent you from the last meeting, I found some grants and sent them to you specifically for first responders. So they can end up work on, I don't think we really want to exclude anybody and so forth. And, but we can help them out in a certain different fashion.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I was thinking, and it's best to define that as a different category. Mainly for some of the other opportunities. So Don Marie, did you want to express your thoughts?
Well, maybe we could have a vice president that's over, first responders or others, so that there's somebody who's an expert on that, can answer those questions, steer them the right way.
Yeah, I think it'll start small. And I think we'll probably find somebody who's both a first responder and a veteran that says, hey, I'm a little bit more of a policeman. I'd like to, start to do the first responder and define that and get into that. And I'm happy for that if we can help them out.
Hey, I have something to offer.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Not volunteering to be the vice president, but I am a professional firefighter. I'm at work right now, so if I have to go, it's legitimate. But once again, I'm playing kind of catch up, but what was the point in bringing the first responders in as well? I do like your comment on the VFW. I mean, I'm a life member of the VFW. And one of the reasons I like going to the VFW is because it's a small sect of people that have something in common with me. And I think if we broaden this too much, you can dilute this out, and you can see where when we're new and fledgling organization, if we make this too broad, it's not going to serve veterans. I think we want to be somewhat inclusive, but we want to be somewhat exclusive in the beginning, especially because we can't get our feet underneath of us. I don't think we'll ever succeed.
That's a great point. I mean, I don't argue that. Any other thoughts on that?
I agree with what he said there. Yeah, I think the veterans should be the primary, goal of trying to help veterans that want to get a good start and, be productive and, do what they want to do.
Okay, so then is everybody thinking that we need to take first responders and dependents that aren't defined by DOD regulations as dependents, as not voting members, just tag-alongs, I guess to say?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that as well. I think only veterans should be a voting member. But I think if there's two, spouses, I think they should both get a vote if they're both members and both veterans.
Okay. Now, say I'm a first responder though, and I want to come to a meeting or something. Do we exclude them, or do we just have voting members at meetings?
Once again, I fit squarely in both of those circles, and I don't see a big overlap myself. I mean, I guess it's good to be inclusive to a lot of people, but I've been a firefighter for 22 years. But I don't know. I mean, once again, I think I missed the first meeting or whatever. I'm just trying to play catch up here. We can include a lot of people in this group, but I mean, if this is a veterans organization, I mean, I think the veterans should be the key. I mean, I don't know why we need to, we can invite teachers to come too, but I mean, this is a veteran organization. That's just my 2 cents.
That's good 2 cents, though. I'd give you a nickel for that 2 cents, Patrick, and I appreciate it.
We're really working on the VSO angle of all the benefits and on all the grants and all the opportunities, and they're defined as veterans.
Okay, no, I'm with you. Okay. I'm with you. So I think what we're saying then is that it's only veterans members, veterans vote. You got to be a veteran. You have to have been discharged other than dishonorably. And if you're dishonorably discharged, then you can ask the board to participate or to be a member, I guess is the right way of saying that.
Was that going to have like a review for dishonorable veterans, like a review panel for them?
I don't know if we need to do anything as
eligible.
I think they could just talk to the board. They could have a closed discussion with the board, which would consist of right now the chairman, the treasurer, and the secretary. That's 3 people that I think fairly, if somebody wants to be a part of it, I really can't say saying no. I mean, I don't want to get into too much detail on that, and I say that only to give those people the flexibility to make the decision and not put the workload on us to define that. Because I know in the new charter for some organizations. It had that they could not have been, it was an absolute no-go if they're discharged for a sharp violation or other things. And I don't think we want to go down that rabbit hole. I think the three people that are the board can easily make that discussion and approval without having to bring it up, because I don't think that's anybody else's business if somebody was
Right.
dishonorably discharged.
Well,
Okay.
are there conditions on some of the grants where you have to have an other than dishonorable to get the whatever the benefit is?
So that's a great question. I'll have to look at that. I do know that some of the USDA definitions is other than dishonorable, and you have to provide your DD 214 to show it.
Okay, how about if we say this? That we are looking at having VSOs attached to our organization. What if we said that VSO will take the assignment of responsibility for doing, helping with an appeal to the board for the correction of military records to get that corrected in the system, so that then not only are they eligible for membership, but the most important part is that they're eligible for all the programs that we're trying to inform people about.
So I don't disagree with that. I just think that's a little bit ways off until we stand up a VSO opportunity more firmly in the organization. So what Don Marie's talking about is some of the organizations that support veterans have VSOs. It's not a horrible thing to get, but that's one of the ways that they can articulate, like Don Marie has volunteered for, some of the benefits to be able to get veterans. I agree that it'd be great to represent them. I'm just not really smart on that process for changing a DD 214 once it's been noted as dishonorable.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah,
The good thing about if we work with the American Legion and the VFW, they have VSOs. We just have to work with them, and that helps solidify funding with them also, because they all have an appointed VSO at those positions.
yeah. Let's
Hey,
bring
Joe,
up the VSO discussion a little bit later. I'm not against it, but I think we could be here all day on that one.
Yeah, Joe, this is Jerry Alexander. I
Yeah,
got in
Jerry.
late, but I just wanted to let you know, I had a meeting that just wrapped, but I don't think VSOs are assigned to a Legion. They're all appointed by county commissioners. So they're locally hired by each county and the commissioners oversee them.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate that. I'm not super smart on it. I know Don Marie is passionate about being a VSO, and we'd like to be able to help the memberships with it. But I think that person, again, I think if somebody is dishonorably discharged, they can easily articulate their case to the committee of three right now, or the board, I'm sorry, the board of three. Doesn't need to include the advisory board, just the people that are the secretary, treasurer, and chairman, and say, hey, this is what happened, and this is why I'd like to be a member. And I think it can be pretty simple like that.
Yeah, or just say that if it's other than honorable discharge, that it would have to be under review, and that's all you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we're going down some great discussion points, because we've really, I think, narrowed who's a member to a veteran. Someone who's not honorably discharged can present it to the board. Family members, dependents are all invited to events if they're outside the DoD definition. If they are part of the DoD definition, then they don't get a vote, but they are still invited if they're within the age range that DoD says that. And we'll make some sweet words, and we will pass around the bylaws a bit before they become solid, just so everybody knows. And then we talked a little bit already about advisory. The next thing is, a quorum. That probably is going to get messy, so I might table the quorum discussion. I do want to talk a little bit about committee positions and not keep everybody over 90 minutes. So with the committee position, I'm thinking social media, communications, fundraising, veteran services, program coordinator, mentorship coordinator, and grant coordinator. And I see those maybe nesting, once we agree with those, underneath a position. So like fundraising, if John Antil as the treasurer wanted to have a meeting with a fundraising committee, he'd have somebody to help him out with fundraising. If the secretary maybe took on communications with social media and communications, that might be a good lane for that. So without going with who it nests under, any thoughts on any other committee positions we would need, or any of those that we should take off because there are too many? Thoughts? Okay.
I think looks great.
Okay, I appreciate that, sir. Okay, so we'll work on that and maybe start to send outreach on those positions. And then the next question is, do we charge? And maybe that's not a question for today, but maybe something that we need to think about. And here's the kind of discussion on that. If we don't charge, we get a lot of people attached to us that don't participate or just want something from us without giving back, I would say. So I'll tell you, I know an organization, they will boast that they have 30,000 people in them, but when you drill down into it, there's probably only 30,000 people because they're required to be a part of it to get certain benefits. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I do know that there's not a lot of depth of participation in some organizations like that. Even a $5 a month charge or a membership fee, does commit that person to meetings or other things. And it does hold people say, if I'm paying $5, I'm going to give my input. So that's probably, a great discussion to have maybe a little bit right now. So I'll throw it out if anybody has any thoughts on charging.
Well, I'm wondering if we could attack that from the back end and say, if you receive something like bee equipment and bees, you agree to mentor the people coming behind you the next year, so that there's a commitment to pass the knowledge on, since our mission is mentoring. And so there's an involvement by helping, pulling someone else up behind you.
I don't think a membership fee is out of line. It's definitely a revenue builder, and it enables us to help other veterans with reaching out, spending our time, whoever our chairman or whoever's involved's time, compensating them for, everybody likes to make money, and that's, and everybody enjoys what they like to enjoy. I just don't think a membership fee is a bad idea, or, some kind of like a dues or something like that. I think that's a good idea.
Well, this is Jerry Alexander again, but based on my thinking, I think that it's appropriate to charge a membership fee if you can indicate that they're going to get something for that membership fee, like a monthly, quarterly, or whatever newsletter that's got some information that I subscribe to a whole bunch of investment groups that I get a monthly newsletter, but it costs me about $50 a month to participate. But if there was something that they tangible that, you could say, well, to be a member, this is what you get. So it could be
Absolutely.
Could be
I agree with that.
something in an email that gives information that that they wouldn't get without a lot of research.
That's an interesting point. I completely agree with that. Sound like we had a couple other people agree. Any other? And so maybe we aren't ready to charge right now. Maybe, in a month or two, if we start to be able to gather information, really enable people, then we can say, hey, this is, for us to do this, it's not free because we have to pay for paper and we have to pay for publishing and we have to pay for time and effort in some ways. And I'm almost good with a zero out cost. That the fee is as much as the magazine, but it does, I think, hold people to the organization a little bit to participating, better than nothing at all. Any thoughts on it should be free?
I like what Jerry said about keeping, trading value for a financial commitment. Makes sense.
Okay.
I think you might be surprised too, even $5 a year could keep people interested or keep people that are absolutely no interest out. And you're not trying to exclude people, but like you said, you don't need a bunch of people on the books that you've never heard of or you never see. I mean, I know at the VFW here, if they have meetings and you don't go, you have to pay a couple bucks for not going to the meeting, and that's all charity. I'm not trying to create an accounting nightmare. You have to pay every meeting you miss. It's $1 or something like that. I mean, you're either going to quit or keep going.
I like that. I think that's a good idea. But I do think maybe since we're fledgling, we have to show our value first, and then put out a cost. But John, maybe John Antel, maybe you could give that some thought about, when's the right time that we present a cost in the future.
Well, I mean, the first thing is if we know when the grants are coming out, stuff like that, even that in a newsletter, that's going to be worth some money. There's people who pay for that service everywhere else. So I'll think about the money thing though.
Okay, and maybe to Don Marie's point, there's a little bit of benefit. Somebody comes across and says, hey, I can't pay this for X, Y, or Z reason. Maybe we need to hook a mentorship angle in there as well. Hey, if you can't pay, that's okay. But you need to, stand up and be a mentor for somebody because you got some skills in this area.
I got some to
I
say.
have no problem about that part either.
Go ahead, Tim.
There's we're brainstorming really good on this, but I think what you're talking about, we need to set up a vision statement that is aligned with our mission statement to define exactly what you're talking about. Because yes, we should have an e-newsletter set up and so forth, which is probably going to take a couple months for us to probably end up compile something to where this is what I was talking about with a great PowerPoint presentation of everybody that wants to take part, take a little video clips, put something together to turn around and get this organization advertised and get out there. This way you can turn around and take donations as a fundraising revenue and so forth. You probably should have a slight small membership fee, even though the Farmers Veteran Coalition didn't have anything. But if we are going to have grants, and I would like to promote hydroponics and aquaponics is becoming a specialty for me to end up and initiate things like that. But I think that's what we need to step back here and really make a vision of where we want to go, because I think in a way we're creeping out of our scope a little bit.
Okay, I think that's a good point. I think these discussions are great and I agree with the vision statement. And I also think that as we start to define this, and we're kind of coming back, we're coming kind of a little crazy at it because we already have 700 members from our membership list. You know, we also have to define or look at what are the needs of the membership and what do they want to make it valuable to them. And so we're kind of, we used to say building an airplane in flight, but I do like the vision statement, and I'll look at that and maybe pass something around for the next meeting. Okay, so I think we got into who votes, so we don't need to go into committee positions, and we kind of went there. What I did want to discuss and see, make sure that we could put this in the bylaws, because I think it's important, is that after the January 2024 Fair Oaks Farm event, that we take a step back, we kind of look at ourselves and re-examine us, maybe even at that meeting, and we start to take nominees. We would have been almost a year under our belt. Look at nominees for the secretary, treasurer, and chairman, and then we start putting out resumes for about 30 days. And then we have the capability in Wild Apricot to send out voting for positions. And so I just want to make sure that everybody thought that was kind of a fair way of voting. We kind of got, I don't want to say voted in, but it was a small group that decided, hey, they're going to be the board, so we could put forward the 501c3 and have these discussions. But I also think January 2024, we need to have like the bylaw solid, and you know, then be able to vote forward maybe a 2-year term for those positions. So has anybody got any other thoughts on that? Okay, we'll put that in the new bylaws, and then just an administrative thing around there is you can always have the possibility of a tie. And then I think if there's a tie, instead of one person making the decision, those 2 people go around for a second set of votes and an opportunity in some sort of automated way as well. So we've already agreed to that we are going to be in Indiana in the beginning, but we're going to be flexible in the future to expand that. You'll see some of our logos already have the state of Indiana on it. I think that allows us some good focus there. And then we've also talked about, as you see in the mission statement, homesteading, which was recommended by the team as well, because homesteading is what some people want to do. And I think that's fabulous. So I wanted to show real quick and not keep anybody past 7:30, the regional workshop kind of agenda that's in draft. So just give you 2 minutes on that. Some of the highlighting areas is that we're going to really do some resourcing opportunities on the 6th. We're going to do a reception. And I think what we want to do with the reception, what we're going to try to do is get some good networking time, maybe do something with tables where people can learn other people in the same commodity area and also in the same region with our concept on regional captains. So if I'm the regional captain in the Northeast, maybe there's a table where people can come by and say, yeah, I'm Joe Ricker, I live in this town. And that way we can really make that reception a little bit of networking time, or somebody says, hey, I'm into bison. And so say, oh, I'm into bison too, and really start to really join that and show the value there. Business planning is always a challenge on the 7th. Holly Acres is with the Small Business Association. She'll give a 2-hour presentation there. Do some food safety, land and estate planning, and then farming with disabilities. One of the challenges of this agribility meeting with us is going to be, it is tied to also educators being there. So it's going to be a little bit about veterans educating educators about who we are and what we do and what we're interested in. And then you'll see the marketing panel, really, how do I get my product to market, either in selling it or in other ways. And then you'll also see we're trying to do something with the PAC Act, but that could change a bit with some new VA things that we're trying to tie into. Then, as I mentioned, the farm tours at Celtic Glen and American Mushroom. So real quick, I'll update everybody on some of the new business ideas we're working with. So we're continuing to work with regional captains. We haven't nailed the head on that yesterday, but we'll hopefully tomorrow have another discussion on it. If anybody wants to be a regional captain, feel free. My information will be on the last slide, whether they are here today or going to see this on Zoom. Let us know. We're still looking for regional captains, and we can use as many as we can. Once we get regional captains, I think that'll enable us to have some touch points with them where they can go out and have meetings within the regions, and that'll work real nice. A lot better than a large gathering, which I think we've struggled with. Additional board positions, we've already talked about committee positions. Jerry Alexander on the line is working with us right now to try to do a certified kitchen in Anderson. And so what we're leaning towards is being able to turn on a certified kitchen in Anderson in the next 6 months or so, and then make the products that are processed by Veterans in Farming, then allow that product to go into the commissaries. Kind of got the front end and the back end figured out. We know a kitchen we can use, we got to get it certified. And we know that the commissaries were open to doing it. What we got to do is start working through the products and the process so that they're food safe and we meet all that. I think that'll be an interesting opportunity because it doesn't necessarily mean just the one at Harrison Village. From what I understand in my discussions with food safety, is as long as the pH value, as long as it's more acidic than a 4.6 pH, will be pretty easy to do. After it gets less acidic than 4.6 pH, then there are some extra hoops to jump through that might be more difficult. So we're still really looking at that and seeing opportunities there. We do plan on standing up in Anderson, Indiana, again with Jerry's great help, an urban farm and maybe a farmer's market around that certified kitchen. So we may have a veterans farmer market in Anderson. I'm a guy that I will do what I like to call the Patton way. So Patton never had a perfect plan. He had a good plan and he did his best at it, but he knew it wouldn't survive first contact. So I think we go after a few of these things. And if we don't use a lot of resources, and we do figure it out, we may find a gem like the beekeeping stuff or the June 6th through 8th Agribility Veteran Conference and build on it. And sometimes we're going to have some challenges, but I think these three things, the certified kitchen, the farmer's market, and the urban farm are definitely worthwhile and worth effort to see if we can grow those. And that is a agricultural farm. AgVets is up for renewal, just so everybody knows, in August of 2023. We'll completely endorse that and support that as Hoosier Uplands plans to put in for it again, and probably within the same framework, plus add our conference in January to it. But it has not been advertised by the USDA yet. There's probably some discussion with the Farm Bill and other things on how AgVets is going to exist as a grant in the future. We thought it was going to come out about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it is not. Hopefully that comes out soon, and we'll support, AgVets, Indiana AgVets and Hoosier Uplands when that comes out. Agribility is doing a veteran community of interest. If anybody wants to participate in that, they're more than welcome. Really what it's going to be across the nation. And I'll probably record it as well. Veteran organizations across, allergies are killing me today. Veteran community of interest across the nation on what other organizations do. It's, I know North Carolina is going to be there with their veteran farm. And so we've sent out as many touch points as we can through contacts to say, hey, bring to us what's here. And that way veterans know if they move, the opportunities that might be in other areas as well. So if anybody wants to shoot me an email if they want to participate, that's the rickard2@purdue.edu. I'm thinking right now, every 2 weeks for a board meeting or a meeting like this. And then every other meeting, we invite the advisory group in. Obviously, the advisory group, once we hone that in, can be every meeting. But I think it would be good to invite them to at least every other meeting. I think the difference in our organization is going to be the members being heard and participating and having a great advisory board that can narrow us down and say, hey, this is opportunities you might not have thought of. So right now, that's kind of my thought on that. Everyone's welcome to every meeting. Like I said, if it's not an advisory meeting, it should be, it'll be a board meeting, but the advisory meeting, people can always go to and vice versa. Because some of those advisors might be veterans as well. And then I think it would be nice to once a quarter have a member focused meeting where at least once a quarter, and maybe that's the January event or the June event as well, where we can really just get input from the members to make sure that we're going in the right direction, and those that don't want to participate or are unable to participate in these meetings are heard. So lastly, I have maybe an initial advisory board meeting on May 3rd, and I can send out invites to those people that I know in some of those positions. So any comments on new business or thoughts on those I'm open to? I know I'm not that good, so you're welcome to provide comments if you think you want to.
I have just a couple pretty stupid questions, but
Nope, go ahead, man. The never
All
a
right,
stupid
here-
question.
all right, here's a question. So I'm guessing that we are kind of leaning away from the Farmer Veteran Coalition here in Indiana a little bit and trying to be a little bit more home based versus the national like type of agenda that we seen there in Oklahoma City at the conference. Is that kind of what the vision is, to maybe get more home based and help our veterans in our state that are interested in farming as a lifestyle at any capacity? That's basically my question.
Yeah, Scott, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. And maybe it was discussed a little more on the last meeting a little better, is that there were just we didn't feel it was hitting the nail on the head for Indiana. And then we were going to have to put in a lot of work to get it to a certain level with FVC, and the effort and the value did not equal what the previous FVC Indiana chapter board wanted to put into it. So if we were going to put in that effort, we decided we might as well really focus on Indiana and opportunities there, because again, a lot of the effort seemed to be duplicative anyways, if that makes sense.
I do. I get it. I mean, I know it was brought up during some of that, and I was just kind of curious, like I said, I've been missing some of this because of my change in my lifestyle here and everything, but I was pretty happy to hear, like I told you in that email that time. Yeah, I think, I have several older veterans that one is, I'm in that Ag Vets program, and I was actively internship in with a pretty big cattle farmer, but he's a veteran. I don't know how many years he was in, but he's always been right there at my side and helped me with all my cattle and learning stuff and doing everything. And then I kind of took the bull by the horn and, went through all the motions with the AgriAbility and Steve Swain, and of course you and Cindy Chastain and everybody. They're great help. We have a hell of a group in Indiana. We have a lot of resources here, and I felt like this is a great move, because I have, like I said, all these older veterans that I know they're asking me questions about, this program and stuff. And I said, well, I just pointed them to AgriAbility straight away because Steve is kind of the one that helped me initially, and being you're kind of in that role now with AgriAbility, I could see this being very beneficial for the veterans in the state if we can get the word out.
Hey, thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. Any other thoughts on the new business?
I just had kind of a slight comment. So
Go ahead, Nolan.
when we're thinking about value proposition, one thing you might consider is for events that you charge for, maybe have a different rate for members. And so it'd be kind of like almost refunding that initial membership fee.
Well, that's an interesting point. Yeah. John, did you write, you got that thought in your head?
Yeah, I was tracking that one too. I also sent you a bunch of grants.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably a very smart thing as well. I'll tell you on the business end is some of the interesting thing with ag vets is, they have a goal of spending X amount of money. So by reimbursing veterans, their multiple goals are being met. But I agree. I think that's a good value proposition there as well. Any other thoughts out there? All right, I'll close this up and just say, hey, the Vets and Farming Gmail address is open. Feel free to send an email to that. For anybody on the call that thinks of something or anybody who sees this on one of our postings as well, there's my phone number. People are welcome to call that as well. And we're going to do the best we can to keep veterans or put veterans into our mission statement, which is really, homesteading and farming opportunities in the state of Indiana. And thank you for the opportunity and spending an hour and a half with me this evening.
Oh, thank you for all you do. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. I'll look forward to the next one. Hopefully I can stay more involved with this. Really excited for what could be coming ahead for us all. So
I think it's gonna be an exciting time. Thank you all.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.